Speaking of which, we do have a person who speaks to the people. He's a human rights lawyer and a member of the African Judiciary's Research Network. He's here to talk about Tanzania elections aftermath, and indeed the question is, are African leaders missing the point? Karibu sana Evans Ogada to Radio Generation.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It's my maiden visit and good to be here. Thank you very much.
Yes, indeed. Let's talk a bit about Judiciary's Research Network. What is it all about?
Well, this is an association of scholars globally from Africa and some from the global north. And we specialize in research and analysis about various aspects of the judiciary, independence, accountability, and such kind of things. So I'm a member there alongside a number of scholars. We are headed by a scholar based in the UK, and it's an organization that is about 2 years old. So let's see what it will do for us in Africa in terms of changes.
All right.
Yes.
There's a word you mentioned here and I've heard so many times, especially on TV, sazile kuna shida ya election petition.
Yes.
Jurisprudence.
Yes.
Yes, what is that?
Jurisprudence is basically the theory of law. You see, law has what my uncle CT will say, a tripod, this traditional African stool. We have 3 legs in law.
Yes.
So jurisprudence, the theory of law, is one of those legs. So we have what we call the what, that is the law that is created in parliament, and what is declared in court, that is the law, the what. Then we have the why. How do you present your case? That is what we call the procedural law. Then the theory, jurisprudence. Why is law the way it is? Why is X the way it is? So there are a lot of theories, and that is jurisprudence in its wider sense. Then in its narrow sense is basically, jurisprudence is basically what the courts say the law is. So it has the broad sense and the narrow sense.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Bado sijaelewa lakini nimeelewa.
Utaelewa kidogo.
But thank you for that definition.
Thank you, sir.
Let's talk about Tanzania. Our president, I think it was yesterday or the day before, he was having a conversation with Al Jazeera, and the journalist asked him what he thought of the elections in Tanzania, and he said, well, in a democracy you wouldn't have the winner having 97%. And it has been said before, I mean, the president wasn't the first person to say it, but it has been said before that in a democracy or in any election, it's very difficult to have someone win with such a margin. Do you agree with the president?
Well, I think the president has his finger on the pulse. And whenever you find those kind of margins, it usually points to an unhealthy state of affairs. I will want to point your listeners. There's a book that has been written by a friend of ours, Professor Nick Cheeseman and Brian Klass. Those two professors have a book called How to Rig Elections. And they point to about 6 methods of rigging elections. When you read Cheeseman and Klass, every of these countries that return 80-70% have a pattern of repression and manufacturing of election results. So the president has his finger on the pulse. How I wish, as chair of the EAC summit, he will institutionally do things differently. It is not enough to be politically correct on Al Jazeera. There are things that he, as head of the summit, can do within the EAC.
Okay.
Yes.
Such as?
Well, we have Articles 6 and 7 of the EAC treaty. And these are the principal provisions that should govern the EAC. Amongst these provisions are the rule of law and human rights. Democracy is also in there among that cocktail. When we see what we saw in Tanzania, the president, as head of summit, is capacitated to call for an emergency, an urgent summit to discuss matters. When people are killed and we are now seeing a mass incarceration. Those are things that are touching on rule of law, human rights. The head of the summit should call Tanzania to order. They need to sit down and say, nunca más, no more. We need to do things differently. Yes.
Because if you look at the situation in Tanzania, and we'll also talk about Uganda in a minute, but if you look at the situation, and videos have been sent, they've been posted online.
Yes.
Actually, there is an Instagram page. I'm forgetting the name of this page. It's on Instagram, specifically just pointing out some of the problems that Tanzania is facing. And they have posted video upon video and image upon image of Tanzanians, and I believe they are Tanzanians, who've been either maimed or injured really badly and killed. Like literally see someone's intestines ziko nje, and it's a really gory picture, and gory pictures actually, because they are multiple. In light of that, in 2025, what on earth would warrant such kind of I don't even know how to describe it. What would warrant such kind of punishment on a people?
Can I ask a question before you proceed?
Yes, sir.
How certain are we that all these pictures represent what happened in Tanzania?
That's why I said I believe. I'm not certain, but that particular the particular page I'm referring to, if you'd have to watch,
I would
check
have
it
to
out
watch
for yourself.
it. But why I say this is I've had situations where someone posts a video that ostensibly speaks of people in a certain country doing something. For instance, at the beginning of the problem that Tanzania had, there were pictures that were taken of the airport, and it was Tanzanian breaching Dar es Salaam airport, and yet that particular clip
was an old clip.
Yes, of Magufuli being brought into the country, his body being brought in after he had died. That was the clip.
Okay.
So I've given one example. The others. So whenever I see something that is that alarming, I have to pause and ask, have we ascertained that the pictures we are seeing actually represent the narrative that is accompanying it?
Yeah, and with due time we shall know if those are either fake, pictures, AI generated or otherwise. But as it is right now, we know to a certain extent kulikuanga na mabaya yamefanyika kule.
Well, I know for a fact that CNN and Larry Madowo has equally received a lot of images, and they are going through digital audit and verification of the same. Myself, I also wear the hat of being the chair of the East Africa Law Society Rule of Law Committee. And I do confirm with you that I have spoken to colleagues and friends in Tanzania, both in civil society and in the bar. And I do confirm that they give us very worrying stories. I know for a fact that people have indeed been killed. There's continued incarceration of persons, particularly those in the opposition, people who are basically protesting or airing their views on social media. So the repression is going on. The killings have certainly happened. What we need to know is the numbers, because anybody familiar with Tanzania will know this. Tanzania has this controlled environment in terms of information dissemination, and their space in terms of social media is highly restricted.
I didn't know that. Is this something that happened recently, or it's been there for a while?
No, this is a CCM legacy.
Okay.
The party has this guiding, we need to guide the public, we need to control things kind of mentality. So, and your listeners also need to understand that Tanzania is still operating in a constitutional environment and a constitutional context that was bred in the 60s. They are using a very old constitution. And that constitution was suitable for very old times.
They didn't have like a referendum to like have, they don't have a new constitution.
No.
That's what Tundu Lissu has been fighting.
Yes.
Or
Okay.
speaking about. But remember, to understand it, contextualize it, CCM is modeled after the Chinese Communist Party.
Okay.
That's the modeling. And these are people who have a controlled economy, And even if they say they have multipartism, it is controlled. If you want to be polite, you will say it's guided.
Yes.
Because CCM is at the very, very grassroots. We have what we call chiefs, headmen, mjikumi. You can't be if you're not CCM. Police are CCM, military is CCM. So the question is, who is not CCM?
And you can see it's a bloodline between civil service and CCM.
Yes.
And with the last 2 cycles of elections, it's becoming a little bit tight, because right now we have a majority CCM membership in parliament, with the exception of I think 2 MPs.
170 out of 172.
272.
So I meant 270.
Yes.
Sorry, no, not yes. 272 out of a total possible of 274.
Yeah.
So for a country that a party that is so patronizing and quite tightly regulated, you will expect things to become tighter. The constitutional process, because we've been following this for some time, it has been there for several years. And part of the unrest you see on the street is a translation of the unease and the anger that stems from that stalled constitutional process. Because part of the problems with Tanzania is that once the equivalent of the election, our Independent Election Commission, announces the elections, you cannot challenge it in court. And it is in the constitution.
I found that very weird.
Yes.
Once they declare Nivyo.
Ndio hivyo. So how do you expect, and I will challenge your listeners to look at 3 observation reports. Those observation reports are very important, and this, in any other serious context and election, these questions will be asked. There are 3 election reports that were released, and they are quite damning. We have the East and Horn of Africa Election Observation Group, EHON. EHON has, among others, my good friend Mule, who released quite early their preliminary report on 29th October. And in that report, EHON raised fundamental questions, including voter suppression, arrests, lack of transparency in the vote process. It raised questions about the observation and how observers were treated. It's a problem. Now, we also go to the SADC, Electoral Observation Mission. This is from the SADC region. SADC was headed by a former speaker from Malawi, Richard Msowoya. And SADC raises very, very serious questions, and it pointed also to harassment of observers. I've been an observer before, so when observers say some of these things, you pay close attention. It talks of suppression and repression, disqualification of Chadema and Tundu Lissu. That is SADC, that is EHON, more or less speaking the same language. Then we go to AU, the African Union. The AU Commission Chair, who did something that I considered quite unbecoming, being very quick to send congratulatory messages before he had read the preliminary report from the observers, because the trend, the pattern usually is the head of the mission releases a preliminary report, then those bureaucrats up there take cue from what has been released. The AU report is equally damning, and it calls to question the conduct of that election. Cumulatively, these reports show to a poor state of health of the Tanzanian elections, because you had the pre-election phase where legitimate opposition was banned. There was a lot of suppression. If you moved around Tanzania, you'll see only one candidate's posters. The media was repressed, those kind of things. Then during the election, though it was marked by low voter turnout, one of the observers was telling us that in one station in the afternoon the numbers were so low. So for him to have had the Electoral Commission announced very high figures for that particular station, he was not amused. These will have been sorted out within the context of judicial review, going to court and asking questions. But now your constitution says you can't go to court.
No questions, yeah.
Yes, those are problems. Yes.
Wow. So going forward, what is the solution for Tanzania? Because I hear they might be having talks with the opposition to see how they can just calm the country down. Because when you look at social media after it was opened up, a few videos are coming out of individuals, citizens of Tanzania, just saying that, guys, this is wrong. People are being abducted even after the election. People are being disappeared. Others are turning up dead days after the election, and the process is done. So you can tell that indeed things are not necessarily quiet as they should be after an election.
Well, when I hear that we want to talk, and I saw the second vice president talk of talks in the context of the aftermath of such dispute should be institutional. And in law, we call that transitional justice. Transitional justice is quite broad, and it involves a lot of mechanisms. So what are you talking about? Are you talking about pacification and giving us a facade of calm on the streets? Or are we going to have broader conversations, including institutional reform, opening up the democratic space, constitutional reform, electoral and legal reform? We also have issues with the way the opposition is treated, because elections are not, and this should go out to African leaders, elections should not be used to legitimize entrench power. Elections should enable peaceful and competitive leadership transition. So when you do what we've seen all over the continent, Cameroon, Madagascar, and now in Tanzania, you are only applying band-aid on a serious fissure. It will blow up and it will be a problem. So yes, have the dialogue, but it is supposed to be institutionalized within the framework of transitional justice. Maybe
they can borrow a leaf from what happened in Kenya in 2007 and 2008 after the election violence that we witnessed. We had a situation whereby it gave birth to a new constitution. So there were reforms because of the conversation that our leaders had. That's the time we had Kalonzo being the vice president, and then of course the honorable late Raila Odinga becoming a prime minister. They had a handshake of sorts with President Kibaki at the time, and they had they brought about several reforms. Perhaps this is the time for Tanzania to do something similar.
Our 2010 constitution began much earlier.
Yes.
The quest for it and the building blocks that made it what it was.
Yes.
And simply garnering the views of the citizens and getting to know what people want and didn't want from the old constitution. It took a long time. Remember the referendum we had in 2005 was about that.
Yes.
Essentially, those who wanted it and those who didn't. Okay? So we took a long time. But remember, Tanzania has never been through these throes that we went through. From 77, once CCM came into being, the amalgamation of the Tanzania TANU, the equivalent of our KANU here, and Afro-Shirazi Party, a lot of things that happened in Tanzania were now tightly controlled. Simple fact.
Yep.
And when you have a system of that nature, the people who hold positions in the political party are stronger than any of the people you see around, because it's the political party that determines what happens.
Yes.
In sincerity. They determine who is the leader, they determine who takes which position, and these people have to be members of the party. You have to understand that. And that's why even the transition from Nyerere retiring and the others coming in could be done that because all these people who followed were members of the party. Yes.
So for me, I'm keen, and I will say that Tanzania needs to do one better compared to what we had in Kenya.
Yeah.
For the reason that Kenya's transitional process was inchoate. It was nipped in the bud by a certain interest. Particularly look at the transitional justice, the TJRC. What we did here in the form of TJRC is a joke. We still have simmering undercurrent that has not been resolved, and you see it once in a while boiling over onto the streets, and one day it will explode in the face of these politicians. You need to address historical injustices, and Tanzania knows best what are the historical injustices within their context. You cannot bring in TJRC, Truth,
Justice and
Reconciliation in the context of mass arrest. You're talking of Maridiano and you're arresting people. I saw the Attorney General froth in the mouth and say a lot of angry things targeted at one blogger based in the US, and talking about this lady will be extradited because the lady has been calling out the system and posting out videos.
Yeah.
I mean, you as a politician, you need not to be this thin-skinned. You remember our own here, when the Gen Z so-called young people were posting videos and photos, caricatures of them in coffins.
Yeah.
They become so livid. It is factual that you're alive. If somebody makes a caricature, why are you getting riled? And then they go pontificate and give us morals. The same people who we know have multiple girlfriends and steal from us.
Evans, it isn't a caricature. What is being challenged is your fidelity to the law, and they know it.
Yes.
And they also know things that they have done which we don't know. It is that which they fear. Because if that comes to the fore, the problems they currently have with what we know would be considered a walk in the park.
Yes.
So when people react extremely violently, you wonder, but why is this person reacting this way and this thing is not such a big thing? There is what you don't know. That is the problem, because the worry is if this is known, because the hoo-ha that you see and you hear is about something that we know. They are known. At any given point in time, once you have a country like ours, where the known path to the pursuance of wealth is plunder of state resources, it is understood that that will go unchecked. When it is checked and it is questioned, it is scary.
True.
It's very, very scary. Because they know what the rule of law is.
Yes.
Handshakes have worked previously, number one here in Kenya, in terms of just calming things down. We also know it worked in this country in Southern Africa, Zimbabwe, when former Prime Minister Changirai had a handshake with Mugabe.
Ivory Coast.
At Ivory Coast. So is it a solution that can work in Tanzania currently?
Well, number one, I have not been a fan of this political jargon that arises out of Kenya. Handshake. What is it? That other term we use. Handshake. Broad-based.
Nusu mkate.
The very juvenile terms. Let us look at democracy more broadly, because democracy is usually broader than the interest of these politicians. If you do what is convenient and facile, it doesn't last long, and certainly does not help the people. And look at the examples of Kenya, look at the examples of particularly Zimbabwe, where Morgan Tsvangirai and Mugabe ZANU-PF quote-unquote shook hands because of the influence of particularly Western interests. And within months, these people have never liked each other. The politics are back to what they were. Anger and all manner of acrimony within government. We need to institutionalize reforms, because the democratic hollowing out you see, those are endemic problems. So that when you want to quote unquote apply veneer on things so that things are calm and your interest, and mostly Western interests, continue unimpeded, you're missing the point. We need genuine reforms. So Tanzania needs deep reforms. You cannot use the constitution they are using. They need to listen to the young people. The opposition needs to be allowed to operate in an open transparent and accountable system. We had something that I found quite troubling. The head of the election, for example, is a sitting judge. That would not happen in Nairobi, Kenya, and is against international standards. What happens if the conduct and what that judge did is called to question in court? Will the peers of this judge look at what he did? How will you ask those questions? So there are a lot of problems in that country, and my worry is that entrenched interests, particularly among the ruling elite, do not want meaningful change.
Okay.
Another scary bit is, and this is all over the region, the influence of social media. Social media has opened democratic boundaries beyond the imagination of these politicians, and that's why you see them wanting to limit the space. It's even in our own country here, where some repressive laws are being used. Today, Radio Generation posts something or says something under Section 6 of the newly minted Computer Misuse Act. There's an authority there that was created that has the authority and power to pull down your posts. Because if you don't agree with what media or people are saying, you get nervous. And look at what we did here, and it's happening again across the region.
Okay.
The ban on live broadcast by media.
Yeah, during the protests.
Yes. That is happening across the region. It happened in Tanzania. Media was shut down. Media was repressed. And in that context, we had a journalist. I saw friends of mine from Tanzania talk about it. The journalist was shot through the head and buried within 3 days. And this has all been kept quiet. We have a problem. So we cannot simply just have men and now their sister, one lady, sit and shake hands and think that this will solve these many problems. No. Yes.
If you look at Uganda also, it's Uganda has been having issues for a while, but they've never gotten to the levels of Kenya and Tanzania, especially during elections specifically. And correct me if I'm wrong, but why is that so?
Uganda is special, and Uganda has its many challenges. Uganda in 1995 brought in a constitution that was thought to have ushered a new dawn, and this constitution was quite progressive, quote unquote, in the eyes of many. But that constitution will not happen so long as militarization of politics continues, because one of the challenges in Uganda is you do not know the line between military and civilian governance, and that is compounded by various structural challenges, including a fairly struggling judiciary, weak institutions, court orders being undermined. I mean, it has a lot of problems, and the military has a very strong presence. You remember our friend Kiza Besige? There was an order by a civilian court for him to be released, and he's still in till now.
One of his lawyers actually was, when the Honorable Martha Karua was there, because Martha is one of his lawyers. There's a time, I'm sure you know this, one of his lawyers was actually locked up for, was it 9 months or how long was it? Because
Aaron Chiza.
Because of what he did outside the court. I think he made some kind of noise and akafungwa tu. Yani that case was within 5 minutes ikasikizwa akafungwa.
You know,
I was like,
when you're in this information age, it all seems very strange. In this country, when the president appointed judges and appointed prosecutors and appointed everybody, my friend, you could be arrested, taken to court at night and jailed that same day.
This guy, and within that lunch hour,
that same day. You're talking of abductions. When you hear of the torture chambers, what do you think used to happen? You could be picked up at 2 in the morning, 2, You are taken to this special place, whether it is Nyati House or Jogo or Harambe House, wherever those places were. Those who went there would tell you, sometimes no one beats you. All they tell you is to remove your shoes, and they give you a bucket of cold water where you put in your feet, and they give you a file to read. Now the scary bit is when you read that file, it documents your activities the whole day up to the time they picked you up, and you're wondering, where were these people? It is as people who went through that and talked about it. If they were university students, they came back the following day. That next week they joined the Christian Union.
Oh, yeah.
So, like you said,
yes,
there's a very thin line between civilian and military governance.
Yes.
And I guess it's because their president was once a general.
Yes.
And in the bush fighting.
NRM.
Yes, exactly. What about the people themselves? I don't know if you've gotten the chance to interact with professionals in Uganda.
Yes.
What do they tell you? Are they okay with it? Are they? What do they tell you?
Well, Ugandans are tired, from at least the ones we speak to.
Yeah.
But we have to understand the context in which they operate. We take it for granted that in Kenya, for example, we can speak our minds, we can go to court and petition and get orders. This is not possible in certain countries. In Kenya, for example, we tell off these leaders, and we should not let that go, because I can see attempts at coiling back our liberties here through all manner of devices and tools, including law. Kenyans, let's not lose the ball. In Uganda, let me show you an example of how things are thick. There's a case that was filed by two of my friends, Kabumba and Karamaji.
Okay.
And this challenged the phenomenon of appointing judges on acting capacity. Because when you appoint a judge on acting capacity, this person does not have the necessary independence to firmly decide on issues.
Okay.
The Constitutional Court agrees with Karamaji and Kabumba and says this habit is unconstitutional. What does the state do? It goes and appeals and gets people to give you certain orders, temporary orders, and that case has been in the pipeline for several years. And the habit of appointing temporary judges continues. That means that today I will wake up and say, Mr. Mbuvi, you're a judge. Your brief is this. Go and do what you must do. And these are habits we saw in Kenya. Mzee Moi used to appoint acting judges, and stories are abound of somebody being called and told, this is the file, this is what we want you to go and do. And people gave orders. You talk to our seniors in the profession, they suffered a lot under this phenomenon of acting judges. So the problems are many. You may have a constitution, but a parallel reality is created to undermine that very constitution.
Right.
And then you have what you've been saying, and this is region-wide. You remember what happened to my good friend Boniface Mwangi and the lady Agatha Hagaire
from Uganda.
Yes. The sexual violation and the torture. You've seen what has been happening here in Kenya, where we have become the mecca for abductions and rendition. And some of your listeners may not know, there were two South Sudanese journalists who were abducted from here and renditioned to Juba. And these people were disappeared. Information has it that they were executed in very horrible manner within very sacred grounds. So that is what happens when the erosion of democracy happens within the region. And the pattern that is emerging is that this is coordinated. The other day we had this Tanzanian activist, Serai. This lady was being abducted somewhere in Kilimani. She had gone for a salon appointment on a Sunday, and there was coordination between our people here and the authorities on the other side. Simply because she's speaking her mind, people had the audacity to try and kidnap her here and do a besige on her, because besige was abducted from some facility in Westlands and was driven by road to Uganda, where he's now being subjected to all manner of ill treatment. That should have been the same case with Sarai. So we have a problem. Yes.
You know, it is not possible for these things to happen if we as a citizenry have not developed a mature relationship with the law. You see, our law, even as we speak now, and the application of it seems to be through guidance. It is we observe how the people we support politically apply their understanding of the law, and we follow suit. Now, it may sound bizarre what I'm saying, but I'll give you an example of what I mean. How is it that President Uhuru led the charge on this very issue of disregarding court orders? He led the charge on serious issues. Let's talk about the appointment of judges. There are 41.
Yes.
Uhuru just said, Court of Appeal judges. He said, forget about it. The court says one thing, this is an arm of government, the president decides, forget about it. The damage that does is profound.
Yes.
It is profound, because you have actually declared that it is okay to disregard the law. That's what you've done. And it'll cascade down. And so everyone in their own little pocket will find a way to disregard the law. When we hear of plundering and nothing happens, again, you are sending the message, it is okay. So everyone in their own little pocket will find a way of plundering. So instead of working towards the things that build an economy and enhance the riches of the country, we are depleting it at source. And then we think we are going to grow. How exactly are we going to achieve this? We do not ourselves, we do not as citizens, we do not have a good, healthy relationship with the law. We break the law when it suits us. We do. How many people will say, I am aware I'm going to be inconvenienced, but I'm not bribing this policeman? Simple. Or these young people who keep saying they want change, how many of them will say, you know, I'm not taking money from a politician because that erodes whatever power I have, and I'm enhancing their power? Bas, precisely. This is not a path that anyone tells you is easy. It is not easy. It never was easy. It is not easy. Because those who want to maintain the status quo want to, and they know how to do so. So until we gear up our minds, and as the Bible says, gird up our loins and decide, you know, this path is a bit difficult, and that you are going to take a path that probably leads to some discomfort for you. These changes we keep talking about, we will not get. Not really.
Afrik Cyber, sorry, let me just read this.
Okay.
Afrik Cyber Guard Academy anasema City, I get furious and mad when the CCM cartel talks of reconciliation. It's reconciliation with who when they said that it was foreigners who caused chaos in their country? Very, very, very good question. Yeah.
No. Those guys were scared out of their wits. Look, Tanzania has never had anything of this sort. Again, you're looking at a situation through the lenses of Kenya. Okay. We've even given these mandamanos names. We know. So when you say mandamano, you refer to which one? Okay.
Yes.
Now, these fellows have not had it. This guided system they have has never had anything of this sort. You tell me, in this country, how do you jail opposition leaders? How do you prevent any candidate of theirs from actually being on the ballot, and then you have an election in this country? Do you think it can happen? Precisely, it can't. In that country, they were doing it.
We have Sarah here saying, good morning, Movie and City. I'm listening to the TZ conversation this morning. I believe what we are seeing in East Africa and Africa at large is the second liberation. We kicked out the colonials, but the systems that we had were their system, which have clearly failed the African people. The West Africans are shaking off the French. East Africa, we are doing it from our own protests too, and Tanzanians standing up to a rigged election. The time is now here. African leaders better wake up. We are tired of failed economies and corruption.
I was about to chime in to what Uncle City is saying.
Yes.
And he remembers this. In 2002, when Kenyans had achieved what had appeared to be the impossible, we defeated the Moi and Kanu machinery.
Yes.
Look at all parameters. Kenya was graded as The most hopeful country
on the planet.
We were also on the streets arresting and detaining police officers that were soliciting and taking bribes. What happened? Politicians again. Because the people are not necessarily evil, necessarily bad, and they take you from what happens at the top.
Yes.
So when you come in and the spirit of permissiveness, a carte blanche attitude of anything goes, you've seen all these ones vomiting on our shoes and speaking
after feeding on our own food.
Feeding on our own food. It's an authoritarian playbook. And these have been documented. You hear of the story of foreigners coming to interfere with us. We saw those things during Kanu.
We did.
When questions were asked, when Itobu, Manyara, Paul Mwite, Wangare Maathai, the Raila Odingas of this world asked things, the fallback is to accuse foreigners of invasion, other foreign powers. And that is under what they call the national security doctrine. Yeah, we need peace, we need security.
National security.
We are being threatened. So that will give them the opportunity to bring in the military and the police to secure the regime, not to secure the state. Another thing that happens, and you can also see it here, what I call lawfare. The law is being weaponized. The norms of law are being used to delegitimize the opposition and civil society and the citizen as well. So that when you speak in public and you say things that they are not happy about, you become a target of the law. Look at our parliament. What has parliament been passing in the name of the law? Some of the most horrible pieces of legislation. And when they are declared unconstitutional, you hear Moses Masika Wetangula telling the judiciary that, you are overreaching. Mr. Wetangula, we are here to remind you that you're a lawyer and your PC is amenable to recall. We are members of the LSK. You respect the judiciary and what the judiciary does, and you respect the law. Then you will see institutions being weakened deliberately. There's a lot to discuss, and probably we'll come back on another day on the authoritarian playbook. There are proven methods of undermining the state and to show up personal power, and with personal power comes money, largesse that a cartel, a cabal around those, the ruling elite benefit from. That does not help the citizen.
In fact, what then you see in conjunction with that is the leadership that is synonymous with the government, an individual, and the people around him. So when people say government, you're actually referring to this individual and their cabal. Because when they say something, it's like the entire machinery. And we talk government, you're talking about parliament, you're talking about judiciary. So they speak as though what they have said encompasses all these three arms of government. And they also legitimize the statements they make to the point where people believe that what they say is law, and they're thinking it can't be. That's what you have said. The law is something completely different. By the way, it chips at you. It doesn't hit you in one strong bolt. No. It's broken down in pieces. To the point where, how do you get to a point where we are in the 21st century and we are sitting back and thinking that the politician is going to bring development? What on earth are you talking about?
Maendeleo.
That isn't how it is done. That's why we have a budget-making parliament, and that's why you have allocations. It's with the understanding that these are the things that need to be done. And it's in keeping with the mandate of the delegated power that we've given to all these individuals, including the executive. It's delegated. When we say it's delegated, believe me, we delegate that power to all these organs. We delegate it. Now, when they take it over, and it's a coup, and then they are the ones who now want to tell us what to do with power that is actually ours. You have to sit back and ask, excuse me, you've got something wrong here. This doesn't belong to you. You're part of us, but you as an individual or as a group, that's not how it works. And how does it manifest? It manifests in you not getting what it is that you are supposed to get. Not forget being promised. what you're supposed to get as a citizen of this country. If you have free education,
Yeah.
you have free healthcare. Yesterday on my flight, I was a young lady who works in the UK as a nurse, and she was telling me the marvels of living in the West. The free education the children enjoy, the free medical service they enjoy. She works there. She's on a 5-year contract. Now, when you don't have to pay for these things, that is money you have. What can you not do? We have a conversation that is a complete opposite. You already have a pay that is already burdened, and then someone wants you to pay more for education or pay more for health. Already you are in a quandary. Because that excessive money to pay for this, you actually haven't had it. So what do?
You have to take a loan.
Yes. And then you have to take a loan from some of the riskiest sources possible.
Shylocks, banks.
Yes. And so when you hear banks posting these huge profits, all these institutions that lend money, these are not signs of progress. These are signs of the problem we have in the country.
Yeah.
When amidst all these problems, banks post those huge profits, there's a problem.
So then how do we, as a continent, how do we move forward? Because we're having problems here in Kenya, we're having in Uganda, Tanzania. Tufanyeje?
Problems are different.
Well,
the same.
Tanzania's post-election crisis is a painful illustration of a wider continental tests.
Yeah.
Are leaders using elections to renew democratic legitimacy and governance, or are they using them to entrench themselves? So we need to remind ourselves as Africans that elections, peaceful competition, consent and accountability is lost when leaders prefer coercion and legal manipulation.
Yeah.
We have to say no more, nunca más. And I'm glad that wind is blowing. It might as well be the fourth wave of democratization. We need to reverse these trends, and reversing these trends requires that we value institutions over political survival. We have stronger domestic and regional checks. The East Africa community, I spoke of President Ruto chairing the EAC. The EAC needs to do something. The AU, and shame on the AU Commission chair who has largely embarrassed the institution and the hope that we had with it. We also need to sustain citizen engagement. The citizen is the owner of the process. Don't peripheralize these people thinking that you can govern without the people. Now, without this, elections will continue to be instrument of power consolidation rather than mechanisms for responsive leadership, and the human and political costs will keep on rising. Africa needs to write a different story. Thank you.
We have Njuki Mungai saying eternal vigilance is the price we have to pay for democracy. We should be very wary of what happened in TZ, kwa sababu ukiona mwenzako akinyolewa chako kitie maji. And Siti has actually said this before, that we need to hold our leaders to account. So that means what Njuki Mungai is saying here, eternal vigilance, like lazima tukae macho 24/7.
Yes.
Such that if we see you're our president or you're the CS for whatever it is and you're misbehaving, we call you out.
Yes.
Clearly Africans have shown that they have the spine.
Yes.
We have the teeth.
Yes.
But we are fighting a monster, because this monster is unbiteable, for lack of a better word.
This monster is us. You know, it may seem strange, but the path that took us to what we now have, fractured as it may be, the challenges that were faced them were insurmountable. A one-party state is not a joke, chief. They are the law, man, and people are telling them to go suck a lemon.
Okay.
So this is infinitely easier than what was there before. You could be arrested and nothing would happen. Which court were you going to go to? You would go to court for what? The court might even add to the sentence that you didn't think you had. This one, we have institutions. It's a work in progress, but we have them, and there's a fight to maintain them. See, getting a constitution is the beginning, it's not the end. To retain it and to ensure it works and it's enforced, it's a fight. And It's a long drawn fight. The Americans who've had theirs for God knows how many centuries are fighting to date.
Yes.
Us, we've had it for 60 years. Oh, I mean, what do we think? It's a fight. Because there are people who are determined to retain the status quo before the 2010 constitution.
Yes.
And they know that they're in for a fight. It's us who are not aware of just how much we also need to fight to retain what we fought hard to get. They erode this constitution every single day when they have an opportunity. We need to go into history sometimes and look at when we had the referendum.
Okay.
Who was on which side by the time when we were voting? It can tell you exactly how it is they will relate to the constitution. Yes.
Hapo ndipo shida zetu zilianzia.
Yes.
Yeah. Shortly, we have about a minute to go. Cameroon. Cameroon is a special country.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What do you have to say about Cameroon? They've elected their 92-year president for another, is it 5-year term?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to say that was not an election. That was a ritual to again buy legitimacy. These authoritarians have decided that they have to buy a veneer of decency and some smell of respect by showing and holding numbers. That is why African despots all over will use all manner of things to rig elections and give numbers. Perhaps a conversation for another day.
Yes, indeed.
I want us to look at the authoritarian playbook.
Yes.
Because that is what these despots have been using, and the pattern is recurring. We are going back to the Africa of the 80s and 70s.
70s and 80s, yes.
That is where we are going.
So that's why they say that the more things change, the more they remain the same.
Yes. So for us, and particularly for Kenya, because Kenyans seem to have the idea that we are very far off from what Tanzania is experiencing. I need to remind them that authoritarianism is not built on coups, but on constitutions. This constitution that we think is good can be the very platform for authoritarianism. The question for us is no longer that the law exists, but what power the law serves. So we need to be very careful and look at what is being passed, because those laws, and with this incompetent and decrepit parliament we've had, you've seen what's been churned out there. We need to remember that every generation, our generation, must decide whether the law will be a master or will be its servant. That is very important.
Evans Ogada, thank you so much for coming through. We hope you'll make time, perhaps even next week. Let's talk about authoritarianism.
Thank you, sir.
Hi.